Here we are back again. Patricia and I are collaborating for a few weeks here to give you some good information to take care of yourself and to take care of your life and your business and everything in between. And this week we are talking about one of my favorite topics. Reprioritizing your health. It is my jam.
Yes,
and
it is.
I don't know why everyone doesn't think it's as awesome as I do, but
we're gonna. Oh my God, you're so hilarious.
See if we can take some hearts and minds today. So because if you hadn't figured it out in the last couple of years, your health is kind of a big deal.
Yes,
it's kind of a big deal. So, I mean, even if it's not, I always say it's not about your, 6-pack abs, unless that's what you want, but it's about you being able to do you. It's about you being able to do all the things you want to do, whether it's, juggling all the balls like I do and like Patricia does, or if you just want to be hyper focused on one area. You can't be good at what you do if you aren't feeling well and if you aren't taking care of yourself and if your body is not happy. So
yeah, we've already shared my, several of my stories. Go check out the first conversation we had where I shared. And here's the thing, it's one of those things like but especially us type A'ers, we kind of say, yeah, and then move on of like, you really do need to like take care of yourself in order to keep going at the levels that you want to go. Or even if you're pulling back and shifting, it still takes a certain kind of energy to be able to do that.
Yes, 100%.
And remembering that our health is one of our greatest assets.
I think it's your only asset that you should worry about.
Oh, wow. I mean, well, she
here's
said
the thing.
that, y'all. She said
here's
that.
Here's the thing. Why does it matter if you have a nice house if you can't get out of bed? Why does it matter if you have a nice car if you're so exhausted you can only get yourself to and from work? Why does it matter if you can go on all these lavish vacations if you physically cannot leave your house?
Okay, Miss Heather is like throwing down the gauntlet on that one. I got no words. And y'all know I am not one to be speechless, but she just made me speechless.
You tell me one thing that you can do when you're not healthy.
Sleep.
I mean, for real. Like if you don't feel well, you are white knuckling through life. And as moms, we're good at that. I love all the commercials, about moms like taking sick days or whatever, and parents taking sick days. I don't know if it's like NyQuil or who does those commercials, but it's hilarious because they go tell their kids like, I'm calling in sick today. I can't come in. It's like, we can't do that. There's no calling in sick when you're a parent, and there's no calling in sick usually when you're a business owner either. Or if you're, an executive where the whole company is depending on you. I mean, I have a very close friend who lost her husband recently, and she didn't really even get time to grieve because she has a young child and a demanding job, and she got right back into things. And guess what happened?
She got sick.
Her body
says, nope.
Her body said, sorry, we're not doing this. And so luckily, she has a great job there where they understand and they're giving her the space that she needs to now take care of it. But I don't care how badass you are. You cannot muscle through some things.
And for those people, because I know people will always say, oh, it's always focused about the people with the kids. No, we are in a generation where we have people who are sandwiched in, and particularly that group of women that we've really been talking to. So
I was just even if you don't have
children that you're taking care of, you have people that you're taking care of, parents, older family members or something. There are a lot of caregivers. So this is not to say, oh, it just only applies to people who have kids. It does not. Because even when I didn't have kids and I wasn't married, I had a few moments where my body was like, yeah, no.
Oh, I know. I know. And one of my clients, she doesn't have kids. She actually runs her own business from home. So technically she can control her schedule.
Yes.
But she ran herself into the ground, holding herself to that standard that she believed that she needed to live up to, and had some very serious medical stuff happen that was life-changing and irreversible. And, now she's like, okay, I guess I need to get a handle on this, to where it's like simple things like eating your lunch.
Okay. Again, quit getting into people's business, Heather. So, so for those who don't know, like there's this ongoing thing because Heather has a very strict schedule about making sure she eats her lunch, whereas I am not as diligent and I kind of lose track of time. And she has chastised me more than once about that. So I'm trying to do better. Again, this is a journey and a process.
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying.
But she's so right, y'all. I mean, and here's the thing, because there's nothing worse than getting to that part of the day and realizing you haven't done certain basic things to take care of yourself, like hello, feed yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can't do anything. And your body's in recovery mode. And you're wondering why you're sluggish and can't move forward because you didn't make, I didn't make time to make sure that I ate my meal at a decent time. Right.
Or why your brain isn't working right. You know, when your brain's not firing and you're like,
oh, yes.
Why can I not put sentences together right now? Something's going on.
That's a real thing. That is a real thing when you just like, wait, the words are not coming out of my mouth right.
I don't know if I've shared it since we've been doing these, but that's what dairy does to me. It gives me the worst brain fog ever. And I just am like, duh, duh, duh. And I cannot put words together. I cannot finish sentences. Like I'm like, the thought's there, but it's kind of like it's floating around and I can't pull it down. It's terrible.
Wow.
Terrible. So I think we're kind of talking about it, but I think that one of the most important things is you need to know why. Like, what is the reason that you are now deciding to prioritize your health? You know, is it because something catastrophic happened? I hope not. I hope it's because you want to prevent it. Or I have a lot of clients whose parents are suffering from complications with diabetes, heart disease, and you list any of those metabolic diseases. And they're like, I don't want to end up like my parents. I don't want to end up, you know, like my grandma. I don't want to end up like my, you know, aunt or whoever. So,
you know, I know over time, because I have those things when I'm, you know, constantly trying to reprioritize and set things, because again, like you said, always going, I needed to set back and take some reflection time. I know we're broken records, but we're going to keep going with that. But in doing that, you know, your priorities shift, right? You know, from my priorities about my health are different from when I was 25 to when I was 35. So it's 45 and to now, because yes, I am over 45. Thank you very much. But the thing is, literally, one of the things that I realized that my why for wanting to make sure that I stay on track and take better control and prioritize my health is, you know, I have a daughter who's in college, and you're like, well, okay, she's older now, but she loves to travel, and we love to travel together. And we've been doing it since she was 10. And I'm like, I'm older now and she's in her prime. And I'm like, I can't be huffing and puffing up these damn stairs trying to keep up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real thing.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that what we always say, you know, is when I retire, I'm going to travel. And when I retire, I'm going to do this and that. Well, if you don't take care of yourself, by the time you retire, traveling is going to look a lot different than you thought it would.
Yep.
You know, it's going to require going places where you can take a, you know, wheelchair, or that you don't have to walk very much, or
you don't have to do a lot of steps. Don't go to New York.
Nope. No,
That's out of the question.
Yeah, you gotta, you know, and that we don't think about that.
Right.
You know, when I retire, I'm going to garden, or I'm going to, you know, take up biking. Well, you can't take up biking when you're 65 if you have not been biking at all. You know, and
because your body's not going to function and respond to those things. Yeah.
Yeah. And if gardening, if that's your thing, I mean, people think of that as like a hobby. That shit is hard work.
It's hard.
It's hard.
I have been a gardener, and it's hard work.
And if you think about, you know, what you're doing, you're bending and you're doing this kind of thing. If you don't have good core strength, you're going to have back issues before you even start that.
Girl, let's talk about that. Okay, let's be for real. Because I was the one that was always digging in the dirt in the yard and all that kind of stuff. But I detest squats. Like, that's something I've never done. Gardening is all about the squat. like
Mhm.
totally. And I was just
Mhm.
like, this is so ridiculous. This is how I'm getting in squats. And I don't even like squats,
And
right?
getting up
It's
and down
always
off the
making
ground
me
all the time.
up and down,
Mhm.
moving around, and a very real thing. Because, and I love using this as an example because this seems like such a quote light thing to do or whatever. But like you were saying, there are certain core strength body things that you need to be able to do. And if you don't, if you're not ready, like you will pull muscles and you will be sitting down for days.
Mhm. Mhm. So I think this is a good thing to kind of shift into is, everyone's focused on the scale usually when it comes to reprioritizing their health. That's the first thing that I hear. I've got to lose X number of pounds. And that does matter, but it's not the only thing that matters. And there are a lot of things that matter even more.
Yeah.
So you want to consider what other results you're hoping to get. Why we talked about the why, but now what are you trying to get out of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. And I think I shared with you like a couple of years ago, well, in the middle of the pandemic, and I was beating myself up when I went to one of my doctor's appointments, annual visit to, and I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't really lose the weight that we talked about me losing during this time. And I was beating myself up over it. And my doctor was like, what are you talking about? She was like, you're fine. She was like, your numbers are fine, whatever. And as I've shared, I had this edema issue episodes and things that were going on. She was like, I'm much more concerned about the fact that whatever has happened, that you've managed to get that more under control. But she goes, and here's the thing, the benefit is to realize sometimes you have to give yourself credit when you don't even realize you deserve it. She's like, you didn't gain the weight that most people have gained during this pandemic. And I was like, what? She's like, a lot of people have gained 20 and 30 pounds, and you didn't do that. So sometimes what you have to appreciate is what didn't happen while you were also focused, for me, on something else that was very much interfering with my ability to, run my business, work with my kids and do all kinds of other things.
I know, totally. And that really, the simple things of, I want to be able to go up and down stairs without getting out of breath, or, I want to be able to sleep without a CPAP machine.
Yeah.
Or I want to be able to, go to concerts or go to, roller coasters and not have to worry if I'm going to fit in the seat.
Oh, yes.
It breaks my heart when I go to amusement parks and I see that they have the seat out so people can test it. That makes me sad that that's even a thing.
That makes me sad that that's a thing.
Oh, it's a thing. It's a thing. And a lot of rides, if you're bigger, you just flat out can't ride on it.
Right.
So kids or no kids, if you're going with friends or whatever, you don't want to be the one that's like, okay, I guess I'll just be waiting over here because I don't fit. Because how like embarrassing and pride sucking is that? Or
well, because now you talk about the other part. So, we've been talking about the physical health, but now we're talking about how it starts messing with your mental health.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a thing. They're not mutually exclusive.
Well, and you're always all about, authentic networking and relationship building. A lot of relationship building in business happens during physical things, golfing, skiing, whatever. And if you can't join your friends on the golf course or you can't ski with your colleagues, you're missing out on business opportunities.
Yeah.
You're missing out on building connections that way.
Yeah. So. No, you're right. It's true. It's true. And just being able to say, if someone says, hey, let's go take this trip. But if you're like, I don't know, where are we going and what are we going to be doing? Right. If you have to preface those things, and that does start affecting you in other ways. So it is so comprehensive, and it's not just, again, for vanity's sake. It's really about your ability to live your life. Hello, Heather is always talking about your lifestyle, not just, your fitness, but your lifestyle, and how this helps to incorporate it so that you can live your life better.
What do you think? When I think about obviously changing my health, I have a lot of knowledge in my brain, right? And I'm always learning, I'm always studying, but I think it's important to think about, what do you know about it? What do you think you know anyway?
Yes.
You don't know what you don't know, but maybe you need input from someone like me who has that real deep well of knowledge that can pull out what you need to know, as opposed to you spending years. I mean, I've been in this, I've had my business for 5.5 years, but in the industry for almost 12. And prior to that, I was an athlete. So I've got like a lifetime of learning about my body, learning about nutrition, learning about, now recently in the last 10 years, it's found hormones and how that all affects us. And that's a lot of time to catch up. And if you're not super passionate,
I'm like, to even begin, I'm like, just when you're, I mean, my goodness, hello, you just like ran through my entire life. I'm like, those decades mean something. Things start doing different things during those decades.
And if you don't have the right information and you're trying to research it, it can get very overwhelming and it can get confusing, because let me tell you this right now, there is a study to back up every claim you'll ever hear. There are all kinds of studies, but if you don't know how to look at the study or to ask the right questions of who conducted it, who sponsored it, what are the parameters, how many people were part of it, what kind of people were part of it, because that's what, unfortunately, a lot of food companies and drug companies, they're very selective in their studies. And they want a specific result. And if they're paying for the study, generally the result is skewed in their favor. So,
well, and it's learning how to ask the right questions, which means oftentimes we need to engage someone who's an expert in it, who can ask questions we don't even know we should be asking.
Yes. Well, I just was listening to, so I listened to a ton of podcasts, a ton. And Ari Whitten's podcast is one of the ones I love the most. It's a very science, nerdy, geeky, deep dive down all the big science words. But he had a guest on there, and I was just going to pull it up because I don't want to not give her credit. She is a gynecologist by trade, and she herself was dealing with a lot of issues that ended up being because she had estrogen dominance. And it took her going into functional medicine. So now she's a functional practitioner.
Oh, wow.
And deep diving into hormones and all the things in order to figure out what was going on. This is not coming up easily for me. But anyway, so she became a functional medicine practitioner, which, if you don't know what that is, and they basically take a look at the root causes of things as opposed to the symptoms. So traditional medicine is, what's the symptom? Slap a pill on it. You have a headache, here's some aspirin. Your foot's broken, here's a splint and some more aspirin, something like that. As opposed to, why do you have a headache every day? Not just take an aspirin every day because you have a headache. It's, why do you have a headache every day? And let's figure out why you have. So that's the difference between functional and traditional in a kind of a condensed version. So she went from being a gynecologist to functional medicine because her patients, she wasn't able to help them right enough. And she said how she just constantly removing organs. And she's like, removing organs isn't fixing the problem. Like, we need our organs. There's a reason we have them, And she's like, and fun fact, she said that women get organs removed way more than men. And I believe it. I believe it. And so
I believe it too.
But what she said that really made me step back was that when she was in medical school, learning to be a gynecologist, she did not learn about anything with hormones based beyond our basic, like, testosterone does this, estrogen does that.
Well, it's just like law school. You go in and you learn the basics on things, and you only learn more if you're going to specialize in certain things.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So,
but that doesn't mean you don't need to know some of that other stuff.
Exactly. And so I was just like, Dr. Tabitha Barber there. I wanted to make sure I gave her credit. And she actually has her own podcast too, called the Gutsy Gynecologist Show. So if you want to deep dive on that, but I was just, when she said that, I was like, I mean, I know that traditional doctors, they get 1 semester of nutrition, and it is the basics. They get a little bit of hormone stuff. And the majority of medical school is learning about which drugs do which things. And That
because it's a lot, right? I mean, like we don't, and so when we were talking about this whole expert thing, because doctors, remember, they go through years of training before they're allowed to like be out on their own.
Right.
And so there's no shade on that, but just thinking about even with that there are things where you go and they don't know, like they can't know.
They can't know.
They can't know because that's not where their deep dive has been.
Right.
And so it's important to couple that expertise and ask more questions. You don't have to know the answers, but to ask more questions so that you can get to the right
people, you know. You know, everyone says check with your doctor, check with your doctor. Well, maybe you need to check with the right kind of doctor. You know, is it a hormone thing? Maybe check with them. And you don't know it's a hormone thing, but I'll tell you a lot of things are.
I'll have my little soapbox moment when it comes to health is the fact that women's health is still horribly underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed. I've heard and read those stories, not like real stories of women who suffered from different conditions and things for years. I remember one story that I read was a woman who they basically started treating her like a psych patient because they didn't believe and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And it was years later when finally she found someone who was like, here's the deal. And the fact that that's the thing that we have to do now, that's getting into my whole thing about advocacy. That's the empowerment side of my coaching and about how you have to be an advocate for yourself. And here's where I dig deep, particularly for women, is we have to be our own self-advocate, best advocate when it comes to our health in particular.
Yes. Yep. 100%. And that's where I'm glad things are starting to shift. I'm grateful for that because there's been enough women that have said, hey, look, there's something wrong. And so women like Dr. Tabitha or other doctors, you know, they're in the medical field and they're changing it within the field, which I really love. So when it comes to your health, it needs to be number one, period, without exception. You got to know why you're doing it, because if you don't have a reason, you're not going to do it. And then you got to know where are you going? You know, I'm not going to say your end goal because it's a journey.
Yes.
You're never done, but what is your current focus? And then figure out what you think you know and find someone who knows more.
That was so diplomatic of you.
I don't often have a lot of tact, but apparently my tactometer is working today.
That was very good. What you think you know, and then go find someone who knows more.
So you can find someones that know more about a couple things. In September, you can join us. Patricia and I are getting together real live and in person for a retreat in Park City, Utah for 2.5 days. We're calling it the power of the pause. And we're asking women who are on that treadmill that's never ending, the hamster wheel, the crazy train, whatever you identify with your life, and step off of it to come take a break and figure out what you think you know and learn a little more.
I love it. See how that just flowed? It just flowed in. It was perfect. But seriously, we really do want you all to join us because here's the thing. We're not just talking about, theoretically what we've heard or know. Like these are real situations that we've either encountered ourselves and or have coached real life clients through. And we've just been hearing so much about so many women, particularly type A, ambitious women, professionals and business owners who are like, I need a break, but I don't know that I can take one or how to take one. And this is our invitation to you to say, look, take a moment to invest in yourself, the time, because the cost is not really that much, you guys.
No.
The time that you need to focus on you, and we're going to help you through that. So it's not just a social good time. Like this is not a party. There is purpose to it. and we're going to have a good time, but we also want you to go be able to leave and have some skills that you can take back home with you to help you as you pursue whatever your goals are for the remainder of this year, as well as lay a foundation for you for next year. So we really hope you will join us. You can learn more on the link that should be in the post, or absolutely feel free to reach out to Heather or myself on all of our socials. You know, we're everywhere. And we're happy to have a conversation and follow up and share the goodness. Sharing is caring.
Yes.
Share with a friend, a colleague, and maybe you say, hey, let's go do this together.
Yeah.
And because accountability is a thing, and it's a great thing.
Yes. And there's no reason why you shouldn't, you know, we all can recognize when our friends are in the suck just as much as we are, like pull her out of it, say, we're going.
Yes.
Share the love.
Share the love. There we go. Oh, it's been awesome. As always, I can't wait for next week. We're going to keep it going, you guys. And this has been a good little series. I'm really glad we decided to do it.
Me too. So let's see. We'll see you next week.
Next week. There we will. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.